Imperialism, the process whereby powerful groups try to extend their power and increase their wealth by bringing the world under their domination through economical, cultural, and territorial methods.
At its height, it was the largest empire in history and for over a century was the foremost global power. By 1922, the British Empire held a quarter of the world's people and a quarter of the total land of Earth. As a result, the empire's political, linguistic, and cultural legacy is widespread. The empire where the sun never sets is what they call the British Empire due to its span across the globe. Meanwhile, as Britain's power was rising, Ismail Pasha of Egypt led his country into a process of modernization that led the country to bankruptcy. This debt led to a decision by Ismail Pasha to sell shares of the Suez Canal to Great Britain. In 1876, 7 years after the Suez Canal opened, Great Britain and France gained most of Egypt's finances. Landing in Abu Qir in 1798 and capturing Alexandria the day after, Napoleon Bonaparte started his French conquest in Egypt. His main goal was to damage Britain's trade and threaten the Indian colony. Advancing to capture Cairo and the Suez Canal, Napoleon defeated the Egyptian leader Murad Bey on 21st of July at the Battle of the Pyramids, and finally took possession of the capital on the 25th of July in 1798. However, British Admiral Nelson did not like what Napoleon did by invading Egypt, as he felt it would harm the British conquest of global power. Napoleon was effectively cut off in Egypt by a British fleet at the Battle of the Nile in August 1798. Napoleon then tries to take advantage of the situation to further assert his power by undertaking an attempt to modernize and westernize Egypt. His plan through time fails and Napoleon flees Egypt for the British forces. The British occupation didn't change much about Cairo, since the British had been ruling Egypt indirectly for years. Tawfiq was and remained the Khedive, the consular courts dealt justice, the administration was foreign, the British occupied the citadel. Foreign powers were needed to maintain stability in Cairo. Lord Cromer became the British agent in Egypt in 1883 and ruled Egypt for 24 years. Under Cromer, Cairo was a very political and social city for 72 years. Egypt was indirectly under the British Empire, although Egypt had its own government, its own ruler. Britain was the base of the Egyptian government's movements and decisions. Capturing and stealing Egyptian raw materials as cotton, wheat, cement and other agricultural resources was a benefit of the British influential occupation. As one of the biggest agricultural countries of the time, this enriched the British greed of Egypt, taking the raw materials for little or no money and returning it as a full product for a large amount of money is a great success for a new market, and Egypt rests stone and economically starving. Meanwhile, Egyptian monuments were also a little trade-off for the imperialist countries. A very big portion of monuments in the Louvre Museum of Paris were actually stolen by the French occupation in their short period of time. Although French occupation didn't last for long, Napoleon's great intelligence made him know how to use every bit from colonizing Egypt. Furthermore, more than 80,000 monuments of the British Museum were stolen by the British occupation. One very important monument, the Rosetta Stone, is kept in the British Museum in London, when the fake one rests upon the shelves of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Gaining a military from Egyptian soldiers was another goal of the imperialist occupations. The Egyptian military were forced to go to war on the side of Britain and the Allies in World War II. Thousands of Egyptians died in the war while they had no interest in it. Furthermore, at the start of the World War II Battle of Alamein in northern Egypt was in effect of the available control over Egypt. Egypt suffers from landmines of the battle till this day. The Suez Canal, the biggest desire of all European imperialists. The way that cut travel time down by over 75%. Something that arrived in 6 months would arrive through the canal in only 6 weeks. For the French, the canal was desired to cut down the British Empire and its conquest in India. For the British, the canal was the best way to continue the world conquest of global imperialism. A waterway that connected the East with the West made the canal's importance rise and the imperialist countries' desire to shine. Through time, imperialist powers controlled the canal until the one man who brought everything back together after 87 years, Jamal Abdel Nasser.
ان احنا صممنا نقوي جيشنا ونسلح جيشنا صممنا تكون لنا شخصية مستقلة، صممنا تكون لنا حرية مستقلة. الغرض طبعا من هذا الإجراء.
We are not giving in to the colonialists, Nasser tells Egyptians. We are restoring our rights.
يتجه إخوة لكم من أبناء مصر ليديروا شركة القناة ويقوموا بعمل شركة القناة. الآن دلوقتي يستلموا شركة القناة.
When you look at both sides of the situation, that's what you see. Farming and working on this side. And here, another type of work. What people cannot see is that Egypt is witnessing imperialism today. The spread of Western culture through media influences and Western propaganda is highly affecting Egyptian Eastern culture. The change in eating habits, language and clothes fashion is what Egyptian streets and cities witness every day. People's pride and desire to become Westerners has made them slaves to whatever the West declares. A breach of culture and tradition is being witnessed every day in the Egyptian environment. Is it planned? Is it meant to happen? Is Western propaganda created for us to be enslaved? Is this what we can call imperialism?